Welcome to Hot Flashes and Higher Self, the podcast where midlife becomes your awakening. I'm Soraya, a clinical hypnotherapist and rapid transformational therapist guiding women through perimenopause and beyond, embracing transformation rather than just symptom management. Each week, myself and inspiring women in wellness will dive into mindset shifts, somatic tools, spiritual practices, and the candid stories that move us towards our limitless selves. So, if you're navigating perimenopause, menopause, or simply just wondering what's next for me, then you're in the right place. Let's rise together, mind, body, and spirit. This is Hot Flashes and Higher Self. Jacky is the founder of Body Wisdom Kinesiology, and she's a systematic kinesiologist and holistic practitioner who helps people understand the deep messages of the body and gently releases what's keeping them stuck, emotionally, physically, or energetically. So what I love about Jacky's work is how she bridges science and intuition, helping women tune into their body's innate intelligence and restore balance on every level, mind, body, and soul. And I've actually worked with Jacky, and it's been quite an experience. I actually describe Jacky, what I describe you as, Jacky, a magician. She's wonderful. I saw her a few times for different issues, and it's quite amazing the way she was able to kind of like go into her different supplies and pull things that like I call her a witch in a good way. So I'm going to say, Jacky, welcome.
Soraya, thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and before we go on, I just want to first of all ask you how you got into your work. Tell me a bit about your own journey and what led you to become a systematic kinesiologist and launch Body Wisdom Kinesiology.
I've always been interested in natural health and nutrition, and when I was growing up, my mum and my grandparents saw holistic practitioners like osteopaths and homeopaths, alongside conventional medicine.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I didn't live a particularly healthy lifestyle. I partied hard when I was younger and worked in the media and ate my fair share of junk food and had an extremely sweet tooth.
Mm-hmm.
Could devour a bag of Haribo in seconds, basically.
Wow. Okay.
Um, so yeah, it was a lifestyle of sort of partying, drinking, hangovers, junk food, blah, blah, blah. Um, and I suppose that started to catch up with me. But before that, in my 20s, I'd been given beta blockers by the doctor for anxiety. I'd also started getting kind of adult onset acne and was given Roaccutane. And I am one of those people that does look at the inserts, and I was pretty alarmed to see that it caused liver cancer in rats.
Mm.
So I stopped taking the Roaccutane, and I'd stopped taking the beta blockers by then as well, because I didn't really think that they were doing anything. And I had started doing or practicing yoga, which was brilliant. And I did it more for sort of mental health and physical health, really, because to kind of handle stress.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I continued my party lifestyle, but I did always then turn to holistic health practices rather than conventional, because I didn't like the side effects on the inserts in the packets. And holistic practices have always worked for me. So fast forward, I suppose, in my early 40s, that lifestyle had started to catch up with me. And I did have some healthy-ish habits. I took supplements, I did practice yoga, and I've always liked food, like proper food. So I tended to cook rather than eat ready meals, when I was in.
Yeah.
It all started to catch up with me, and I knew that I needed to change my lifestyle if I wanted to feel better. I just felt, burnt out and exhausted. And so I was considering a career change, and I was thinking about becoming a nutritionist, because I was actually thinking about becoming a nutritionist many, many years ago. And I didn't. I went a different path. Anyway, I kind of started researching, and I rediscovered kinesiology, and a friend of mine was into it sort of back in the 90s. So I'd heard of it, but didn't really know much about it. And what I loved about it was it wasn't just about nutrition. it was about energy, and yeah, it covered everything. There was lymphatic massage. It covered so much more than just nutrition. It covered emotions, energy as well, predominantly, because
Mhm.
not everything can be solved with a better diet or more. I mean, lots can, but
Mm.
there's more to it than just that. So yeah, it really appealed. And then so I decided to train in that rather than just nutrition. Really received the benefits of it by having treatments myself, and was quite blown away, and really blown away when my tutor started practicing, and just even seeing, even while I was training, some of the people on the course had various issues, medical or health issues that they were dealing with, as well as training, and just seeing my tutor work her magic during the demonstrations was pretty amazing. Watched some, yeah,
Mhm.
quite phenomenal transformations, even while I was training. So yeah,
Mm.
that's kind of how I got into it.
Okay, and thanks for sharing that. That's a great story. So you had anxiety in your 20s, and then is that what you said, right? And then you felt like with the yoga and then the kinesiology eventually coming into your life, it helped you change that.
I didn't do kinesiology back then. That was more
Hmm.
yoga. I just didn't, well, yoga and other things, but I just didn't want to go down the medical route. It seemed to cause more problems than it solved for me.
Mm.
It has a place. I'm not saying I'd never take, obviously sometimes you do need medicine, not saying I never take it. But for me at that time, it seemed to cause more problems than it solved.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, listeners who may not know, what is systematic kinesiology and how can it help with emotional, physical, or energetic healing?
It's systematic kinesiology it's a holistic health modality, and it
Mm.
considers the whole person. So we don't look at someone as an isolated set of as symptoms. If you came with a rash, we wouldn't just treat your rash. We would look at what perhaps caused the rash, or whatever it might be that you're presenting with. And quite often people come with a collection of symptoms. It's very rarely just one thing. So kinesiology was developed in the 60s by a chiropractor called George Goodhart, and it's evolved further since then. But it combines nutrition, acupressure techniques, craniosacral and chiropractic techniques, neurolymphatic reflex point stimulation, emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping, and just so much more. So it really is truly a holistic practice.
Hmm.
We use muscle testing to read bodily signals. Particular muscles correspond with particular meridians in the five elements acupuncture. That's part of kinesiology. We use five elements acupuncture as well, which can indicate where clients might require particular nutrients, or if certain foods are affecting their system, or if certain lifestyle stresses are causing issues. And when you understand more about the fascia, people think it's just connective tissue, but it's actually alive with millions of sensory receptors. And
Hmm.
there are fascial lines and fascial planes, which kind of provide a structural and an anatomical map um, for acupuncture points and meridians. So, if people want to understand it more, it kind of also makes sense of how things like reflexology work, why you can twiddle somebody's toe and something will affect
Mm.
their arm. Well, it's usually along those fascial lines or fascial
Hmm.
planes. So that it's also how it answers how kinesiology works.
Is that also acupuncture, the same kind of concept?
Yeah, yeah. Those meridians correspond with sensory receptors
Mm.
in the fascia.
Okay, yeah. So it really does combine so much.
Yeah.
It's not simply one thing there.
Yeah.
You've got so
And
many groups together. Mhm.
that's it. And I mean, and the lymph, I mean, and also just to highlight, in classical anatomy, the fascia is still thrown away. So
Mhm.
in classical anatomy, they don't even look at the fascia, don't even study it.
Mm.
Unless where there are now independent researchers that are studying the fascia. Um, but it's not widely considered. It's not considered at all in mainstream. medicine, really.
But that's changing now.
Yeah, ish. Mm.
Sort of. Okay.
Yeah. But the lymph as well, the lymph fluid, the lymph system sits within the fascia,
Hmm.
and the lymph fluid cleans the cells and, sorry, feeds the cells and cleans the bodily tissues. It's part of the kind of body's waste disposal
Mm.
system. So, and lymph can kind of get congested and sluggish. So if the lymph isn't working well, then your body's not really clearing waste very well. So we work on the lymph as well. So that's
What are
helpful.
some reasons that lymph won't be working so well? Can you give me some
Um,
examples?
Dehydration and lack of movement are the
Hmm.
main ones, because lymph doesn't have a pump like blood. So if we're not moving enough and we're not hydrated enough, lymph can get congested. It's meant to be the consistency of like runny yogurt, and sometimes it can be a bit more like cottage cheese.
Mm.
So yeah, movement. I mean, yeah, movement is important, and a
And
lot
what
of
are some kind of effects when it's slow, like cottage cheese? What happens?
well, it's just not. It can't do its job, so it can't feed. If it's stagnant and congested, it's not flowing.
Hmm.
So it's not feeding the cells or cleaning the tissues effectively. Um, so we work on neurolymphatic points in kinesiology, and we do encourage people to, drink filtered water every day, which I realize is hard. I'm not. I mean, I'm still not brilliant at that myself.
Yeah, I think it's also harder when it gets cold as well. So I guess you
Yeah.
can drink herbals as well, like herbal drinks. So
Um,
probably.
it's different. It does need. I mean, that's good as well, but
Mm.
we always recommend that ideally up to 2 liters of filtered water. Even carbonated water acts differently in the body, so it's plain and simple
But it's
filtered
okay to
water.
drink that because I always thought it's better in the colder months to have warm drinks. So you can have
Yeah,
it from the kettle, right? Just
yeah,
kind of warm
warm
water. Yeah.
water. I mean,
As
and I
opposed to
mean,
cold.
obviously, herbal teas have their own benefits. Green teas, but we recommend plain water, whether temperature wise, as warm or cold as people like.
Hmm. Okay. Next question is why is embodiment, listening to the body's signals and allowing it to speak, so important in personal growth and transformation?
Well, we work a lot with emotion as well in kinesiology, and people still sort of find it hard to acknowledge the mind, or some people still find it hard to acknowledge the mind and body connection. But it's those molecules of emotion live in the fascia, or can get stuck in the fascia. So we often tend to bury uncomfortable or upsetting emotions and just soldier on. It's kind of culturally what we're
Mm.
used to. But if people get the opportunity to acknowledge and release them, which they often do in a kinesiology treatment, it's not unusual to have tears on the table. They're releasing them, and they're releasing that energy from their body. And yeah, it's all part of the healing. It helps. Um,
Yeah, it's interesting because before I went to see you first time, I thought kinesiology was more just about kind of like supplements and everything. But then actually, when I got to experience it with you, you were like doing all these weird kind of muscle testing and, there's energy things. And that really changed my perception of what kinesiology was. And I feel there's a lot kind of all different modalities have this thing consistently with the holistic approaches. It's all about the mind and body connection.
yeah,
And you're talking about holding the emotions in, and there's a lot of research shows how it's all related, the mind and the body. And the Body Holds Score is a really well-known book as
yeah,
well, as you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that shows a real correlation between people who hold on to their trauma and it's stored in the body, and then they become physically sick.
Yeah, well, in Gabor Mate's book, which is one of his books, When the Body Says No,
So yeah.
that one. And I mean, he cites research where he can even into all that the research has interviewed people with, and they jotted down particular personality traits, and they
Yeah.
can even correlate certain in illnesses to those
Mm.
personality traits, like people who never say no, or
Yeah.
certain things like that.
Yeah, they had different personalities. I think one type was more prone to get cancer, the other is autoimmune diseases as
Mm,
well. So that's quite scary how we can
Yeah.
bring that manifest that through not releasing emotions.
Well, also, I mean, stress takes a massive toll on the
Yes.
body, and again,
Mm.
it's it's cortisol, adrenaline, all those. We're not built to be stressed constantly. Stress is good in small doses, but not.
Hmm.
We tend to just live
Yeah,
with
we
it,
just,
don't we?
but it's like they say, when the animals in the wild, when they're being attacked, they can then go away, shake it off, and carry on. Whereas we are constantly living in that state of fear. We never
Yeah,
shake it off. We just carry on, and our cortisol is spiked all the time, and that's
yeah,
how we can go into that state and get sick.
yeah, exactly that. And the fight, 70% of the nervous system is within the fascia. So that
Mm.
fight flight, I mean, that's where the mind body connection is really clear because, you sense fear and our natural response is to either run, scream, or hide, and
Mhm.
that physical, so you don't even think about it, it's just an instinct, but that
Yeah.
lives within the fascia and that lives within the body, and the fascia can get stuck. It's meant to slide and glide, but
Hmm.
it can become static and stiff like velcro, and the lymph
Mm.
and everything, blood flows through it, lymph flows through it, nerve conduction goes through it. So yeah, those things can get stuck in the body. You can see how it can get stuck in the body.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. How does kinesiology engage the body's innate intelligence differently from more conventional approaches?
Well, going back to the lymph, we massage various neurolymphatic points which correspond with certain meridians. And as I've already said, the lymphatic system resides within the fascia. Um, and yeah, when that gets stiff or when the lymph gets stagnant or congested, not stagnant, more congested, um, it's not flowing. So the massaging the neurolymphatic points and encouraging clients to drink more water helps the lymph fluid to flow and feed the cells and clean the tissues. Um, and we also find the nutrition that the client's body wants. So yeah, their nutrition along with sunlight and water are sort of building blocks to health. I mean, obviously, it's always better to get nutrition from food, but with modern food production methods, that isn't always possible. I mean, there's stats on how much less, less vitamins and minerals there are in, I mean, the stats are quite shocking. I haven't got them in front of me, but how much less calcium or vitamin C there are in sort of vegetables
Mm.
compared to those grown in sort of pre-World War II. So a lot of us are overfed and undernourished. So, but once the body has the nutrients that it needs, it's then able to make the necessary repairs. I mean, and it's quite amazing. After I broke my elbow a few years ago, and afterwards I had weirdly affected my thumb on the other hand as well, and just some after the supplements, which are really good for ligaments and tendons. It's
Mm.
good. It's been absolutely fine since. But those I would never have thought of taking that particular supplement. It wasn't something that you'd find. It's not on people's radar, but really helped my thumb.
Yeah.
So yeah, our bodies are extremely sophisticated systems, and they can heal bones, digest food, reproduce another entire human being in 9 months. So they're capable of healing themselves if from most things
Yeah.
if it has the tool, or for a lot of you know um, ailments, minor ailments, and some more serious ones as well.
I also I find it interesting how when I came to see you, you were doing the muscle testing. So you were taking the current supplements I was using and testing them to see how my body took to them.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting. How does that work, Jackie?
Well,
It's like,
I mean, everything's frequency. So,
mm,
we live in a world that is just vibration. So my understanding is that it's the frequency.
mm,
It's the energetic frequencies that we're looking for, that we're yeah, and it's quite weird, isn't it? When you you feel it when you're on the receiving end. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's not that one, it's not that one. Oh,
No,
that's the
because the way
one.
you were testing was you put them like on a part of my body, and then you try and see how much resistance I could give to you, how strong I was.
Yeah,
So the stronger
yeah,
I was, you were telling me that's the best one for me, whereas when I was weak, that's wasn't working for me. So it was just really interesting because I
yeah,
could actually feel the difference in my strength based on
yeah.
what you were putting on my body. So
It
that was
is
really
quite,
strange,
it is
which is
really.
why I called you a witch.
It is,
It's
but it's the
yeah.
frequency because it will only work if it's in a pot where there's, if it was in a metal pot, that
Mm,
it wouldn't work because you couldn't that would that blocks it somehow. So
mm.
it has to be straight on the skin or just in something like plastic that isn't going to affect the conduction or the yeah, it's really odd how it all works, but it is pretty um amazing when you
And
find.
everyone reacts differently. So if you would take those same vitamins on somebody else, they wouldn't necessarily have the same reaction as me, right? Everyone has different reactions to whatever you
It's
use.
exactly because we're all biochemically slightly different, which is why it's for people to say, oh, just take this or just take that. What works if I've got a particular, I might have something wrong and you might have exactly the same thing going on, but what works for me might not work for you.
Mm.
Um, and it's why, like somebody might go to see an osteopath with, I don't know, something wrong with their ankle, and the osteopath can make it, it's all fine after a few sessions. Somebody else might go with same type of thing going on and theirs doesn't get better. And that might be because as well as the structural problem, they might also be deficient in calcium or magnesium or other minerals, or they might be under immense stress at work and not have an outlet for it. So
Mm.
you know, yeah, there's usually more than one thing going on.
Yeah, so it's about looking at it in a holistic way as well, I guess, like you were saying
Yeah,
earlier. It's not just going and being prescribed, certain medication. It's about seeing
yeah,
what's actually going on behind the symptom and not just treating that, right?
yeah. And I mean, and there is a place for all, kinesiology can work a lot really well alongside things like osteopathy or physio, or I mean, and if people are taking medicine, they can still have kinesiology. It can work alongside other
Hmm.
modalities as well. It's not, only, I don't believe only in, I mean, I love kinesiology, but I have used it alongside other treatments as well when I've had,
Hmm.
like broken bones.
Yeah. Okay. And how can practices like kinesiology help uncover and release emotions or patterns we may not even be consciously aware of?
I mean, it's always surprising to people when they turn up with something, and then I'll always ask what was going on 6 to 12 months prior to the start of the onset of whatever it is they're
Mm.
presenting with. Um, and there's always something big. It might be a relationship breakup, job loss, bereavement, parents got divorced. It's usually like one of life's biggies that
Mm.
proceeded. So, and again, people are quite surprised that that's got anything to do with their ailments, but it might be the first time that they've really, acknowledged something, or that there's unfinished business there, or
Hmm.
unsolved grief and things like that. So it gives people an opportunity to acknowledge that there might still be some grief that they need to work through, and
Yeah, it's like the body's bringing it to the surface to be dealt with, right? As opposed to
yeah,
burying it deep down. It has to come out. That's all. We do also in hypnosis, as you know, it's like you've got to address what it is. Otherwise, it'll
yeah,
keep coming back.
that's exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. And that's it. I mean, I have had clients who've said, oh, right, okay, well, after the treatment, and they've gone off and had therapy, or, they've realized that they needed to do to sort of clear certain things. So,
Mm.
yeah, because, again, we there isn't a lot of time, is there? People just have to crack on with life a lot of the time.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah. People get lost in the busyness of it and they forget to take care of themselves.
That's it. And we also use what we call verbal challenges, which can also change the muscle. Um, so again, if with the muscle testing, we can do a challenge, and then someone will go, "Oh, yeah, oh, that's bothering me more than I realised it was," or yeah, and we use back flower remedies because they also have a frequency which matches the frequency of particular emotions and can help to balance.
Mm. And you also use affirmations. I was surprised at as well. In the session review, you use affirmations.
Yeah, yeah. Well, according to my tutor, EFT was actually taken out of kinesiology. It was part of.
Oh.
It's always been part of kinesiology. Now it's obviously a very powerful standalone um, treatment. So yeah, that is one of the techniques that we use.
For many women in midlife experience shifts in energy, identity, hormones, and purpose. How can kinesiology or your holistic methods support someone navigating this phase?
In a number of ways. So, firstly, there's plenty of herbs and plants with phytoestrogens and other nutrients that can support our bodies through, through midlife. Once the natural hormone production starts to wane. So, and instead of wondering which to take, because obviously there are so many like red clover, black cohosh, all sorts. So, a kinesiologist can find the herbal remedies and the nutrients that someone's body responds to. Stress and sugar also massively affect the endocrine system, the hormones, and that can worsen symptoms like hot flushes, headaches, mood swings, insomnia, brain fog, fatigue. So again, we would look to balance somebody's blood glucose um, and reduce stress. Once the body has the nutrients it needs, quite often cravings tend to drop away. I've always had such a sweet tooth, but I've been having kinesiology, it's definitely dropped away. It's still, I mean, it's still there,
Yeah.
but not in the way like now. The thought of hoovering up a bag of Haribo, bleh, no way, I just couldn't do it. But once upon a time, it was a regular thing. So yeah, you tend to it then doesn't become a battle of wills because you're able to just let go of, or the thing that you once craved just no longer appeals to you. So yeah, kinesiology empowers people to take charge of their health, and it becomes easier to then make the changes that you want to make. It's not that, oh God, I can't believe I've done that again. It just naturally becomes a little bit easier. Also, something that we would consider in kinesiology is the emotions around midlife,
Mhm.
which isn't recognized. Some women might be relieved that they don't have periods anymore, or they can no longer get pregnant, but others, might be deeply distraught or disappointed about the loss of fertility. So these emotions can, they might be buried, but it's something that might come into a session and that can be
Mhm.
handled in a delicate way and released, which is usually helpful.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, there's a different approach, again, holistic approach to midlife and menopause, because in general, what you see in the mainstream is the encouragement just to take HRT. It's just simply to do with the hormones, but I think it's much more than just hormones, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, and I know that, some women get such horrendous symptoms that they just want something that's going to stop it. So,
Mm.
I get that. Um, but yeah, if there are other ways of, um, you know, navigating it. If people are interested in doing that, then which it's not so much. It's not as widely talked about, but there are more holistic ways if women want that. If they want to do it naturally and not medicated, then um, it is. Yeah, there are other options. Um, Yeah, and
But
there's
I mean, so kinesiology seems to me like that is an option for women who are going through that time in their life that they would like to go a more natural route as opposed to just taking hormones.
yeah, very much. I mean, and I've had clients that are on HRT and still come for kinesiology, so it can work side by side
Mhm.
again. But also, if they don't want to take it, it's a great way of navigating menopause because we deal with the physical symptoms and the emotional aspect, and quite often, loss of energy, but we can
Mm.
find what their body wants to, bring balance their energy, bring their energy back.
And what about for women, for example, like who have hot flushes, what would you recommend for hot flushes, a natural way?
Well, I mean, again, it very much depends on the person. So what
Mm.
might work for you might not work for me or for somebody else. So it really is that um, bespoke bespoke treatment to find the nutrients that their body wants, to acknowledge any stresses that they might have going on, or any emotions.
Mhm.
Yeah, so there's it's
So going back to hot flushes from a kinesiology perspective, what is that down to? Why do women get hot flushes?
um it can be, I mean, this isn't necessarily a kinesiology thing, this is just a holistic thing in general. It can represent suppressed anger, and all the times that
Mm.
we've stayed quiet when we probably should have spoken up, and
Mhm.
particularly when we're younger. Yeah, I think that's why we there probably are so many sort of more ballsy older women, because we've stopped staying
Mm.
quiet.
Had enough. That's which is really interesting. That's my next question, actually. I was going to ask, from your perspective, why might this stage of life become a potent time for awakening and reconnection rather than simply a challenge? Because I think that's how it's portrayed a lot of the time in the media. It's like this difficult time for women to go through, and it's got to be like have the HRT. But how would you reframe that?
I
And that
mean,
is,
there are lots of women that write about this.
mm,
People like Sharon Blackie, Dr. Christian Northrup, Kate Coddington. They talk about the positive aspects of
mhm,
menopause and the mythology, and how, in folklore, older women were the wisdom keepers, and
mhm,
we live in a very youth obsessed society, so it tends to be viewed very negatively. I know I dreaded it. And that can have a dramatic effect on the experience. We're sort of led to believe that, oh, that's it, life's going to be over. Oh.
yeah,
But I know, as soon as I learned that in other cultures that it's viewed differently, like
mhm,
women in China and Japan don't, in quotation marks, suffer through menopause. It's referred to as the second spring.
mm,
And I started to research more. This was quite a few years ago. Yeah, and just discovered all these just different ways of looking at it, and realizing that it can be a portal to your wiser self. It can be, yeah, definitely a second chapter, a new phase of life. But I think when the symptoms start to come up, we do just want to get rid of them. It
yeah.
is quite a shock when you've been used to having loads of energy and thinking quickly, and then suddenly, like,
Mm.
your
It is
memory
a shock to the
starts to
system,
go,
yeah.
or whatever, all those things. It's like, oh my God. So I can totally understand why lots of
Mm.
women just want it to stop, and do whatever it takes.
Mhm.
I think just because I have a resistance, to just taking medicine, I think. And I was looking for other ways of doing it. And yeah, I'm glad I did. But it does, I mean, it does mean lifestyle changes. I have kind of cut back on the amount of sugar that I eat and the amount of wine that I drink, which doesn't sound like much fun to some people. So I get why
Mm.
people don't want to do it, because it's simple, but it isn't always easy.
Mm.
But yeah, I think if you can hold your nerve and change, I don't want to still live like I'm 30. So, but I did for a long time, but yeah, I'm kind of done with that now. So
Yeah, it's a strange time of life. It's like you said, it's like a transition, and you kind of, letting some things go and just embracing the new chapter and just seeing what you've learned. And
Yeah.
again, it goes back to what you said earlier about the symptoms, like when you treat not the symptoms but the root cause. So people who have these feelings they won't get rid of, you can help them with that, but then they can actually embrace that new chapter.
That's it. And apparently, actually, it's a time when unresolved traumas can come up to be sort
Yes.
of dealt with as well, which,
Mm.
again, it's not nice, is it? We want to just push it down and forget
Yeah, well, that's
about
it.
it.
I've seen that a
Um,
lot with my clients. I have so many clients around this age who have repressed for so many years. It's all coming out in, different ways, like you said, different symptoms like anger, the
yeah,
anxiety is all coming to the surface. So it's got to be dealt with. So I think it's good though, because you're forced to do it. You have
it
no choice.
it is, yeah, and same. I've seen similar in clients, and it's. I mean, it's horrible. Nobody wants to. We just want to push it down and crack on with life. But I think if you can do it, you come out the other side. And,
Mm,
it's been said sometimes you got to have a breakdown to have a breakthrough. And I think we
exactly.
probably feel a bit like that sometimes.
Yeah, no one says it's easy, but it's just getting through it and then feeling better on the other side because you do let go. You're right, because you can't let go of it until you actually acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And that's quite empowering, I feel, as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so you support clients through one-to-one sessions and holistic treatments. What kinds of transformations have you witnessed in those healing spaces, Jackie?
I've seen, people's itchy red skin conditions clear up, insomniacs able to sleep again, pain reduction and increased mobility after serious injuries, um, fears cleared after accidents and injuries. Sometimes people are sort of frightened to get back in the bath or have a shower or something, if they've slipped over and broken something. And after treatment, they've been able to do that again. Asthmatics able to breathe better and reduce reliance on inhalers. Clients with increased energy, improved digestion, and more balanced hormones. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so there's different types of I guess clients you've had of different issues. And so on average, how many sessions do you think a client needs to resolve? Is it depending on the issue itself?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. I mean, it's really, I would say 3 to 6
Hmm.
is generally, but if it's long-standing issues, so, client might come in and when did this first start? Or when I was 10, and they're in their 30s or 40s. So it's something built that's been building up for sort of 20 years. I mean,
Mm,
we do see really quick results sometimes, but
yeah.
generally, if something's taken 20 years to build up, it probably not going to disappear in one session. So you're probably going to need a few sessions. And lots of people do like to come, like myself. I will just have regular treatments just for maintenance, really. And also kinesiology is good at picking things up before they become clinical, they're sort of subclinical.
Yeah.
So when I went to see my kinesiologist, she was like, "Oh, what's going on with your liver?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And one of the liver supplements came up for me. And then weirdly, I had a blood test a few months later and it showed really high, or it was around that time, it showed really high liver enzymes. So it can pick things up before they become,
Will they get worse?
yeah, or actually before they would even be noticed on a blood
Mm,
test.
it's
I
interesting.
mean, in that instance, it was noticed on a blood test that I had around that time. But yeah, she noticed it first.
Mm. Okay, that's interesting. So how often would you go for these visits, just as a checkup?
Every 4 to 6 weeks is the
Okay.
ideal. I mean, sometimes life gets in the way or budgets don't allow. So, I appreciate that. But ideally, yeah, 4 to 6 weeks.
And then, and then when you're seeing a client for a certain issue, is it every week you recommend to see them during
No,
that
it would
time?
still be between 3 and 6 weeks, depending what comes up. You want to give the nutrition time to really sort of
Okay.
affect, and that can take sort of a good 3 weeks to get into the system.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, between 3 and 6 weeks is the ideal.
You're going to be part of our retreat on the 29th of November, which is very
Awesome.
exciting. Thank
Yeah,
you for coming.
pleasure.
What may the women be expecting from you on that day? Because obviously it's not a one-to-one session, so how will you be doing it in a group? What can we
Yeah.
expect?
Yeah, obviously people would normally come for a one-to-one session, but there are lots of kinesiology techniques that you can do at home or yourself. So I'll
Mhm.
do a group session and I'll show the women some of the calming techniques that we use, some of the acupuncture points that you can kind of tap to calm yourself down or sort of ease a headache, things like that. We also have cross crawl exercises, which are really good for sort of balancing the left and right hemispheres of the brain. And
Sorry, Jackie, what's a cross crawl? What?
it's an exercise that I'm going to show the
Okay.
women on the retreat. It's good for brain balance, left right hemisphere brain balance, and lymphatic stimulation that you can just do at home for like 20 minutes, 15-20 minutes in the morning, or even if you're flagging, during the day, if you're feeling a bit oof, it's good to get up and do a little bit of cross crawl. Um, and also can do some food testing techniques. If they think they might have an issue with wheat or sugar, we can do some food testing. There's some other techniques that you can do yourself, or there's a technique, I should say, that you can do yourself at home just to see what effects
Mm.
certain foods have on your body. So we do that as well.
Okay, so I'm looking forward to that, Jackie.
Yeah, me too.
And then could you share one simple embodiment or body-wise practice that listeners could try at home today to connect with their body's wisdom?
Yeah, I mean, again, it sounds almost too simple, but there's a technique where just holding your hand on your forehead, there's two little bumps kind of right above your eyebrows. And if you just put your hand there and slightly lift it,
1 second, Jackie. Let me just.
you
Oh, it's
just
the
put your
camera.
hand on your forehead, on the bumps, kind of in the middle of your forehead, and just gently lift it. If you've got a dilemma or you're worrying about something, if you just put your hand there,
Mm.
it's kind of where the near the prefrontal cortex, where the thinking part of the brain rather than the impulsive part. Quite often you can just think more clearly about something, or you might suddenly have a bright idea about something that was bothering you that sort of solves an issue. And it's kind of a natural reflex. If something goes wrong, we like, oh, we put
Yeah,
our
isn't
hand
it that
up.
that famous statue of like that thinker?
Yes, exactly that. Yeah, exactly.
Can't get the name right now. That's the brain fog. I
It
don't know
is
what the
the
name is.
thinker. I think it is called the thinker.
Yeah, okay.
Um, um, yeah, exactly that. So that's just a really simple technique that if you're worried about something, it just takes the heat off it and just helps you think more clearly. We
Hmm.
use it as well in treatments if there's a particularly sore point that it's a bit painful for someone. Quite often, just putting your hand there
Hmm.
takes it down a few notches,
This
makes
would
it.
be my new go-to now, Jackie.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, it is. It's a good one, and it's just so simple to do.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's good to have some simple things. It's like less obstacle to do it,
Yeah,
something you don't need to go anywhere or get anything, just do it.
yeah, exactly.
And do you have a personal ritual or habit that helps you stay aligned and connected to your own body and higher self, Jackie?
Well, I'm try to drink 2 liters of water a day. I must admit, I don't always manage it myself. I do realize how hard it is. Eating whole food, taking supplements, and doing yoga and cross crawl. And I'm still trying to develop a regular meditation practice. I would love to be doing it every day, but I certainly don't. Not yet, anyway. And I also try and get out and see the sunrise or the sunset if I can, depending on the time of year. Obviously, don't do that in the summer at 4 a.m. But again, It's a bit easier now to get out and see the
Yeah, and
sunrise.
it does actually make a massive difference. I find like going out first thing in the morning, it really doesn't matter how tired you are, just being outside in the sunlight, even if you don't have sun in this country, it's just being
Yeah.
exposed
Well, we get
to,
infrared
yeah.
rays. The infrared and the near red rays in the sun at that time of the morning are really good for the mitochondria. It's why people pay lots of money for red light therapy.
I know, but it's a lot cheaper just to go outside.
Exactly, and easier. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's just that thing to get yourself out. But once you go out, I always feel better for it. It's
me
just getting
too.
outside the door, which is
Yeah.
why I love just counting down the simple, the Mel Robbins 5 second, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just do it.
Oh, yeah,
That's
really.
such a simple thing to do, and it's
Yeah.
super effective.
Yeah, because I mean, I'd like to do it more often. I don't do it as often as I would like to. I mean,
Mm.
yeah, but I want to start now that the sunrise is later. It's a bit more manageable, isn't it, when it's sort of 8ish?
Yeah, I know. But these are things again. It's like it's habits, though, isn't it? The once you incorporate them into your day, they just become something you do, as
Yeah, like
opposed to
brushing your
sometimes
teeth.
doing it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But I think it's important though, isn't it, for us to incorporate stuff like that into our day so we kind of make it, it's like the maintenance of ourselves, going back to what you were saying, it's preventative measures. Otherwise, what
yeah,
happens is we try to do too much, we burn ourselves out, and then we're not no use to anyone.
yeah. That's it. And I think just adding in what's manageable because it can feel quite overwhelming. I know I
Mm.
at one point had a list as long as my arm. I thought, oh my God, it's just too much. So just doing what you can and adding something in,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
slowly but surely, without overloading yourself or then beating
Mm.
yourself up when you don't do it. Just anything extra that you do is good, if it's drinking water or seeing the sunrise
Yeah.
or whatever.
But I think you're right. But it's important, I think, to have at least one or two things that you're doing for yourself to fill that cup up of yours
Yeah.
to make sure that you're running smoothly. It's like they say about
Yeah.
a car, you can have a beautiful Ferrari car, but if you're not, maintaining the oil and the water, it'll just break down. That's what we are in effect, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's like that saying, isn't it? If you don't have time to meditate for 20 minutes each day, do an hour.
Ah, yeah, you need it more.
You
That's
know,
so true.
it's that, isn't it? Like,
That's so true, Jackie. You're exactly right because I feel sometimes when I get overwhelmed with so much and I have no time to meditate, that's when I need it the most.
exactly. And then when we do take the time to do it,
Mm,
you do end up being able to do more things when I can get in that
yeah.
overwhelm. Oh my God, don't know what to do next. And then,
Mm.
yeah, when you do take the time to sort of slow down, you're actually capable of doing more than you were when you're in that headless chicken mode.
Yeah, that's it. And that's how I felt that until I kind of incorporated meditation and the ritual into my day, because I was always just wake up and rush into my day. And then I was like a headless chicken, just constantly with a to-do list, getting longer. Every time I tick something off, something else would be added on. I felt so overwhelmed. And I felt just by, just like mixing that up and waking up slightly earlier and meditating and just, doing things for myself, I felt more clear-headed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I think that's what I remind myself when I get overstressed. I just say, okay, you need to kind of wake up a bit earlier and do that, have things in place to have a system. So it's just a ritual that I'm used to doing it.
yeah. That's it. And then it becomes second nature, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like brushing your teeth, I say. It's like,
Yeah,
you don't really think about brushing your teeth, you're going to brush your teeth every day.
yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. And what's lighting you up right now in your work?
Oh, I think understanding more about the fascial network in
Mm,
body because it it makes kinesiology make more sense to me. It's not just um yeah, it provides like an anatomical structural answer to why I can test a muscle here and it affects a meridian there, understanding the fascial lines and the fascial planes, how the body is connected by fascia, and
mm.
alive with millions of sensory receptors all over it, sending messages all around the body. Um, yeah, really is. making sense of a lot of it.
Hmm.
Provides answers.
Okay. And if you could leave women listening with one message about reconnecting with their power, body, and purpose, what would it be?
Oh, I think just start the adventure. Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, in whatever way works, in whatever way works for them.
Yeah, I think that's the thing as well, isn't it? We do forget that, life, I kind of go back to the spiritual aspect of it, but I do believe that we are souls, we're all souls, and we're just living human existences. It's not just our vessel. And, it's about kind of what you're learning and just living for it because we're not living infinitely.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
I
about not having
agree.
any regrets, really.
Yeah, I don't think we're here just to work ourselves to death and shop all the time and drink ourselves silly every weekend, like I
Yeah.
used to do.
I know, but I think that's the thing you go through when you're young, right? You think you're going to live forever and you don't think about tomorrow. But I think over time you see things differently, don't you? And that's
Mm,
one of the benefits of being our age. We
yeah,
have a different perspective on life and what it's about.
yeah.
And life is about having those moments and experiences and not having regrets for what you didn't do. I think there was a really great book. I can't remember the name, Jackie. Maybe you can tell me. It was written by a nurse who was working in the hospice, I think, and she was writing the
Oh,
memoirs
yeah, I know the
of
book you mean. Yeah,
yeah, of
I
people
can't
who
remember the name of it.
on their deathbed what they regretted.
Yeah,
And nobody ever said they regretted not working more or,
yeah,
like watching more TV.
yeah.
So I think that's something I always remind myself as well. When you get to your deathbed, what will your regrets be?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the other things about menopause. Again, I think when I was sort of, in perimenopause and it all felt very scary and awful and my life was going to be over. I can't remember where I heard it. It might have been on a course. I don't know if it was a course or a book, but it was basically that when you're younger, your life is ego driven, and when you get to
Mm,
midlife,
yeah,
it's soul driven. So
yeah.
if you can connect more with that and what you truly want rather than what you think you should want, quite
Mm,
often that's the that can help.
yeah, I definitely think that's true. I mean, I see that in myself. When I was younger, it was always about, pleasing others, pleasing my family. And then as I got into my 40s, had my last child, I chose to kind of change direction and start, working in therapy and actually pursuing what lights me up and I feel happy. So
Yeah,
I thought I have a purpose other than not just being a mum, but having another purpose in life.
yeah,
Because when my kids grow up, I also want to have my own purpose, which is because
yeah,
you kind of get your identity back in a way. So I definitely feel that's right what you're saying. It's,
yeah,
it's soul driven. Like what I do is because I love doing it. And, I wouldn't imagine doing anything else at this point in my life.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Exactly, exactly that. And I think also there's a if people have done jobs that are sort of status driven as well, doing jobs that more for interest than
Yeah.
money or status, I think as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I realize it's easier said than done sometimes, but I think once people start, then
Take the leap, leap
find
of
their
faith and
way.
start doing. I think that's why a lot of women in our age group, like they kind of start to question things in their life and they feel a bit lost. That's what I found a lot of my clients that they're not really sure what they want. They're so used to being this certain role, and then now they're not sure they want that role anymore.
Yeah. And it
So
can feel
it's yeah,
scary to think, what is next?
yeah. Interesting. So yeah, I definitely agree that it's definitely soul-led, this phase in our life, which is really exciting, I feel, because there's so
Mm.
many opportunities and it's just about seeing what there is. As you know what, this is probably off topic, but I was listening to his podcast earlier today, Diary of a CEO, and he had a guest on talking about reality,
Oh,
about how we've got the VR headsets on and about that's not the real reality. It's about taking it off and actually, I don't know,
interesting. Oh, who
it
was
was
it with? Because I do like his podcast as well. Who was the interview with?
I want to tell you, it was. I actually, it's the second time I heard this guy because I think he's quite prominent. He was also interviewed in another podcast I was listening to as well in the last few days.
Oh,
Okay, I'm gonna look for it. I'll send it to you.
oh,
But yeah,
cool.
it's
Yeah.
probably it's I don't know, it's off topic because it's talking about, how we have this idea of of reality of where we are, but actually it's like it's a VR headset. We're seeing what was in front of us, but if we take it off, there's much more out there,
Yeah. I think so. 100%.
which is quite cool because it's like you're creating your reality. It's what you're focusing on. And it goes back to, like subconscious and more projecting. So I love
Yeah.
that idea.
Well, and I was reading a book by someone who I think what she does is similar to what you do. And she was also a neuroscientist, but she said as well, like there is a
Dr. Tara Swartz.
exactly, that's her.
Yeah, I've got that book as well.
Yeah. But I love how, and it was her, I think there is so much around us. Our brain just naturally edits. So we don't have to take in all the
Yeah,
stimulus
it's the reticular activation system. It's like the bodyguard at the door, basically, and it's
around.
like letting in what you're used to letting in, and
Yeah,
you're kind of closing off automatically what's around you. So, like if you're for instance buying a red car, you're going to keep seeing red cars around.
yeah,
But if you're buying a blue car, you see blue cars. So whatever you think of most is what you'll keep seeing around you. That's
yeah,
the reticular activated system because it's impossible to take everything in because you'd
yeah,
be overstimulated. You're made to focus on anything. So we need to like that's survival. And that's what this the guest from the podcast was saying, that it's a survival thing. It would be impossible for us to live in the day-to-day if we saw everything around us.
yeah, yeah,
So it has to close things off for us to be able to survive, basically.
yeah. But how when I suppose when we are focused on something, then we start to notice opportunities or things that we might not have noticed.
Exactly, yeah.
Or
Yeah, you're right. And that's the thing. So it's again, the neural pathways kind of like changing them to focus on more what you want to have, which is why I always say like, when we're working on an issue, not to think about what you don't want, but actually to tell yourself what you do want, because you want to
yeah,
reverse it, because otherwise you're manifesting what you don't want constantly. Your mind can't tell the difference between negative and positive. So do not repeat the negative because that's what
yeah,
people, automatically are doing on autopilot. They're constantly thinking negative stuff.
yeah, yeah. Because that's also
So,
a survival thing, isn't it?
well, yeah, that's how we could survive. It
Mm.
would be, looking for the threats all the time because we were living in the wild. But
Mm.
now we don't live in the wild. We have
Yeah,
our homes.
it's kind of wild.
Yeah, it's a different type of world, but it's not really serving us anymore. If we're constantly on, on alert and you're thinking the worst thing's going to happen, that's not really helping you
Yeah,
thrive.
yeah,
Not even survived that well, really, to be honest. So,
true.
yeah, I think this is a very empowering phase. Summary.
Yeah.
Um, okay, and to close the interview, as part of podcast tradition, what's something your body or intuition has been teaching you lately, Jacky?
To slow down and relax.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I can be guilty of being in headless chicken mode. And I think as well, because, when you're interested in loads of things, always got different books and podcasts and this and that
mm,
on the go. And it's like, oh my God, just close it down and just relax and take it easy a little bit. So yeah, just slowing down a bit, I think.
yeah, that's really good advice. I think sometimes it's so easy to kind of get lost in everything, but it's so overstimulated on a day-to-day basis. Everything's on the go, 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 go.
Yeah. And I get it. You get FOMO, don't you? Want to do this, you want to do that, I want to do everything. And then I'm like, oh,
Mm,
I can't do everything.
yeah. I know that's it because you do get overwhelmed and then you just get overstressed and stop helping you. So yeah, that's a very good
And you're
tip.
doing one thing, thinking, oh, but I'm doing this, but I should be doing that, or should I be doing that, or I want to do this, and it's just like being comfortable and at peace with whatever it is that's in front of me, and
Yeah.
just blocking out some of the other distractions. Or
Just being present, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly that.
Mm. And what does living as your limitless self mean to you right now, Jackie?
I think probably standing by my principles and what I believe in, even though there's a lot of mainstream pressure that kind of denies ancient wisdom and natural health practices. But they've kept humans alive and kicking for millennia. So just trusting in that innate wisdom, really, of our bodies and minds, and going with it.
Yeah, that's a great thing. Agreed. Okay, well, thank you so much, Jacky, for your time, and I look forward to seeing you at the retreat in a few weeks.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Soraya. It's been lovely to. Thanks a lot.
You too. Thanks so much for listening to Hot Flashes and Higher Self. And if something in today's episode spoke to you and you're feeling ready for deeper support, then you can book a one-to-one session with me. I work with women around the world to help them shift from stuck to self-led. And if you're craving real connection, movement, rest, and reset, then check out the women's retreats I host. They're a beautiful mix of healing, hot yoga, incredible food, and soul-deep conversations and connections. And you can find all the details at www.ls-therapy.com, or come hang out with me on Instagram at Limitless Self Therapy. And you can also reach me directly anytime at soraya@lstherapy.com. I'd love to connect. Take care of you, fill that cup of yours, and remember, your next chapter is already unfolding.